Hello Year 2 students, welcome back to our lesson today. My name's Loretta and I will be your teacher. Today you will need your learning book. You will need some paper. If you have some coloured paper, fantastic. If you have 4 different colours, excellent. If not, you can use white paper. You will also need some scissors and a glue stick. Last lesson we were learning all about fractions. We learnt about half, fourths and eighths, and we also learnt that a fraction is part of a whole. Let's start our lesson today with our learning talk. How many can you see? How do you see them? Let's have a look together. Okay, you may have seen 5 and another 5 down here and 3 in the middle. We have 5 and 5 and 3. I know that double 5 is 10. Did you know that too? I'm sure you did. So I have 10 and 3 more. 13. You might have seen a 3, a 3, a 3, and then 2 2s. So we had 3 and 3 and 3 plus 2 plus 2. That's a really big long sentence. I wonder if I can make that a little bit shorter. Well, I know I've got 3, 6, 9. And I know that 2 and 2 is 4. So I can break that down to 9 and 4, which would give me 13. I can see there are some parts here that are missing. I could draw them in. And then I have some groups of 3. So I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, but I know I need to take these 2 away, which leaves me with, that's right, 13. You might have seen 5 and 5 and a 3, which is similar to this one. We've just seen them in different ways. So we've got 5 plus 5 plus 3, which gives us 13. These are some of the ways that I saw them. You might have seen it a different way. Let's move into our learning today. So yesterday we looked at wholes, halves, fourths and eighths, and you can see them here on the table. You can see some examples I have of a whole, a half, fourths and eighths. All of these shapes have been partitioned and split fairly. So these halves are the same. They're an equal share. My fourths are the same. I can see because when I put them on top of each other, they are all the same size, same shape. It's equal and it's fair. Our learning intention today is to make a fraction wall using halves, fourths, which we also know as quarters, and eighths. We'll know that we've made our fraction wall when we can make and write a fraction that represents the number of parts a shape has been split or partitioned into equally. Let's get started. I'm just going to move these off the table so that we can start our fraction wall today. Okay, now we're organised, we can begin. So here I have 2 fraction walls. I can see a whole, then the second strip shows me half, the third strip shows me fourths, and the bottom strip shows me eighths. These ones are showing me fractions in word form. But you may have seen fractions written differently as well. So, I have a whole. I can use the number 1 to show a whole. You may have seen a half written like this. So I have a half here and a half there. This shows me that this part is one part of 2. So what might this one look like? It's one part of 4. So I can show one part of 4. One part of 4. One part of 4 and one part of 4. So I have a fourth or a quarter. Do you know what this one might look like? I think you do. There are 8 parts. So this part here is only one part of 8. And I can do that all the way along my fraction wall. One part of 8. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to make a fraction wall in our learning book. I'm going to show you how, and then it's your turn. Okay, let's start. So, you have your learning book ready, you have your paper, you have your glue stick and your scissors, and we're also going to need a marker as well. So, I've already cut some here, but I'm just going to show you. So, you might have just white paper, that's okay, you might like to colour it in, you can just keep it white, that's up to you, or you might have some coloured paper around you as well. So all I'm going to do is use my scissors and I'm going to cut the strips off my paper, and these are what I'm going to use to make my fraction wall. Alright, yesterday we had a look at whole, half, fourths and eighths, and we used a circle to show those ones. We're going to use a fraction wall now where we can use our strips, where we can have our fractions nice and close together so we can see the difference between each fraction nice and clearly. Okay, so I'm going to start with my whole. Now these ones are a little bit longer than my book, so I'm just going to trim the end off, because I like things to fit in nice and neatly. Okay, so I'm going to start up here with my whole. I have that one here. I might also write a little heading so I know when I look at my learning later, I remember what I did and what this one was called. Okay, so I have a whole. One whole, and I'm going to use the number 1 there as well so I can show both ways of my fractions. Okay, next I have halves. So remember, I need to make sure that I line my edges up when I fold so that my halves are equal, because if not, if I folded my shape like this, this is not showing a half. This is not the same as this. They're 2 unequal parts, and fractions are equal parts of a whole. Okay, so I'm going to put my halves right underneath my whole so I can see. I'm going to draw a line down the middle so that I can really clearly see my half. So I have a half and I have a half. Remember, I can also write it as one part of 2, one part of 2. So if I see this around somewhere, I will know that that is a half. Next one I'm going to do is quarters. So one fold and then another fold. How many parts? I have 4 equal parts. That's right. Quarters or fourths, they mean the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to have to write a little bit smaller here. So I might put fourth, fourth, a fourth, and a fourth. So 1 part of 4, 1 part of 4, 1 part of 4, and 1 part of 4. Okay, I have 1 strip left for my fraction wall. Which one is it going to be? You guessed it, 8ths. So I've got 1 fold, 2 folds, and 3 folds will get me 8 equal parts. Okay, glue that one down and we'll stick it underneath our fourths. Oops, one thing I forgot here was just to partition my strip so I can see my fourths really clearly. And now I'm going to do this on my 8ths. It's going to be really hard for me to squeeze in the word 8ths in this little part because as you can see, when I start to split or partition a shape into lots of parts, those parts get really small. So when I split my strip into halves, I've got 2 quite big pieces. But when I'm splitting it into 8ths, those pieces are really small. So I'm just going to write the word 8ths underneath. Oh, remember, I've got to get that extra H in there that I forget. And then I'm just going to use 1 part of 8 here that I can see really clearly. And the last one, 1 part of 8. Okay, so there we have a fraction wall. My fraction wall can show me lots of different things. I can see how a whole can be split or partitioned into different parts. I can see the differences between the size of a fourth and a half. I can see the differences in a half and an 8th. You might have even noticed how many fourths it takes to make a half. You might have noticed how many halves it takes to make a whole. Lots of different things that our fraction wall can teach us. So today we learnt to make, write and recognise different fractions. Your task today is to make your own fraction wall in your learning books. If you don't have coloured paper, that's okay. White paper is fine. You might use colours through your pencils or texters to do that. Once you've finished your fraction wall, see if you can find someone in your house that you can talk to about what you've learnt and how you can use your fraction wall to show your understanding. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that you learnt more about fractions and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye.